I've been a writer my whole life. Like, I was a writer before I was anything else. Ever since I was a kid, just writing stories. I loved telling stories. I loved reading. I loved exploring different worlds and different lives through the stories that I was reading and the stories that I was telling. For a long, long time, the stories that I wrote, which were fantasy and science fiction largely, the characters were white. They had white lives, they had white lifestyles, they had white problems. Very much so, like the stories that you might read, lots of white-centric characters. And that's because that's what I was exposed to. Never any characters of color, never any people of color, never anyone who looked like me on the page in fantasy and science fiction. When I came to writing my stories and writing these books, I was writing what I was familiar with reading. And it wasn't until I was into my 20s that I realized that the real reason that I was writing white characters was because I did not feel like I was allowed to put brown characters on the page or black characters on the page. It was like, fantasy's always white characters. That's what I have to write because that's what people will read. That's what's out there. That's what's acceptable. Her moon white skin and pitch black straight hair, which was coiled at the back of her head, were all features shared by Inasara and any who were lucky enough to be of the charmer race. The thing that changed it for me was reading Octavia Butler, and The Fledgling, I think, was the first book by her that I read. And it was the first time that I looked at a character and was like, wow, this is me on the page. Like, I could play this character in the movie. I mean, I couldn't have because I was too old at that point, but I was like, this is me on the page, and it's a fantasy, and she's just like a regular girl like me. And that really opened up the possibilities for me in terms of what I was able to write, what I was able to put on the page, and being able to use color and race to talk about the social issues and the oppressive power dynamics that we face in society. I didn't even realize that these oppressive messages about how I'm basically invisible, that's how I felt as a kid a lot of times. I felt invisible. Um, I didn't see too much of images of myself in the media. People who looked like me in books didn't see it. Magazines were all white, Anglo-European beauty standards. All of those oppressive messages about how really as a black person and a woman of color, I'm invisible and the world doesn't want to see me. I hadn't even realized that that had woven its way into my creative process, that it was actually holding me back in what I could really, really create that would really stand out, that would really send a message, that would really tell the story that I wanted to tell, the stories that I wanted to tell. I looked at her wild curly hair and deep brown almond eyes, all so much like my own. It was strange. Don't babies look like their fathers? Kenzie looked just like me. So when it comes to you and your creative process, especially as creatives of color, I really encourage you to look at what are some of the oppressive messages that you've gotten that might still be weaving their way into your creative process, that might be stunting your creative flow, or even holding you back from creative endeavors and pursuits. It's really important for us, especially as marginalized people, to look at our underlying conditioning and our old bullshit beliefs, because they're not just things that we deal with when we encounter someone on the street who's got a microaggression or is outwardly racist or passively racist. It also affects what we create and what we build and what we bring into the world. So when you look at those things and you start to break down the oppressive messages and unravel from them, it really opens up your creative flow. To help you dive into this, I have a free video and workbook guide called Unblock Your Dream Life. And it's not just for your big dream life, but it is for your creative process. It is for any aspect of your life that you need to unblock from those internal dialogue and old ideas and bullshit oppressive conditionings that might still be holding you back. You can go to kristeniris.com/unblock, and that is where you can go and get it. It is completely for free. Once you do, come into the comments and let me know. Comment below this video. Tell me, what is an idea or an old belief or an old message you've gotten from society or experience that has blocked your creative flow or shaped it into something that is less than what it can be, less than what you can create? And then make sure you also subscribe to this channel if you haven't done so already, and hit that bell so you get notified when I come out with new videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.